so many new pieces to this IU football team.
To me, that's going to set the tone on how you get ready for games on Saturday in the fall.
I would put that Indiana room up against anybody else in the conference, and that's something that we typically don't even come close to saying.
If you want to get total sickos committee about it, there's a position battle at long snapper too.
This is the Hoosier Huddle Podcast, part of the College Huddle Podcast Network.
All right, welcome to the Hoosier Huddle Podcast. We will update our intro this winter. I'm Sammy Jacobs. Along with me is T.J. Inman, and I think the big news going around college football was the leaked memo going around the Big Ten to Big Ten athletic directors about an expanded 2014 playoff. If people were paying attention on social media, Fox has floated that 2014 playoff bracket all year. It kind of went under the radar. And so Tony Petitti at Big Ten Media Days floated around too. Here's what I'm going to kick off this show about, because, yeah, we're going to come off as old dudes or middle-aged dudes or younger dudes yelling at clouds. One, I thought the 12-team playoff was fine. Playoff, I don't think the structure needs to change right now. They need to really focus on the calendar. However, I live in the real world on planet Earth, and I know that expansion's coming one way or another. And it's the SEC versus the Big Ten. It's a 2014 playoff that might just kind of be bait versus a 16-team playoff, and there's no way that they're going to stay at 12 unless they keep fighting and can't agree, because that's what happened this year. December 1st rolls around. They couldn't make a decision, so it rolled over to the 2026, 2027 college football playoff. So here's what the Big Ten memo was saying. It is a what-if concept. There are no conference championship games, and it's a 23 plus one selection model. So it's the 23 best teams plus one guaranteed group of six slot and an extra weekend of on-campus playoff games. So instead of playing, the first round on campus and then the quarterfinals at bowl games, it'll be the first round on campus, second round on campus, and then go into bowl games. The top 8 teams will have a bye. Those teams will have a home game. They did reference Indiana as that, the number one team, you didn't even get to play a home playoff postseason game. That's something I actually like about this model, but there's also a lot that I dislike. And I'll go over. Top 8 teams get byes, 2 rounds on campus, additional 8 round on campus. It would start the second week of December with Friday, Saturday games positioned away from the NFL. They also need to get over the fact that why are we scared of the NFL? Yeah. College football fans are going to watch college football and all that stuff. So quarterfinals would be New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, semifinals a week later, and then a mid-January title game. So I made some notes here, TJ, on some things that I wanted to go over. We're not going to criticize the Big Ten plan because that's easy to do. We're going to come up with our own college football playoff expansion. So I came up with a list of here are my non-negotiables or must-needs, the biggest hurdles, and the absolute hard nose. So I don't know about you, but my first thing that needs to go, I want to take a lot of things out of the hands of the selection committee. I would like to do more automatic qualifiers, and I don't exactly know what that would look like, teams per conference, but, take things out of the selection committee, and you have to keep the regular season relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that my biggest fear or critique, preemptive critique of a further expanded playoff, particularly one that doubles the field and goes to 24 teams, is that you would lose the uh, urgency that is created from every college football Saturday. The penalty and the consequence for losing games that you shouldn't, that still needs to be there. The stakes that are at place when a pair of 8-2 teams meet. If a pair of 8-2 teams meet in a 12-team playoff, it feels like an elimination game. It's not, but it does feel that way. The 8-2 team that goes to 9-2, they might not make it. The 8-2 team that loses and goes to 8-3, they still could make it. There's other factors at play. But if there's a 24-team playoff, if that team is in the Big Ten of the SEC and they're 8-3, well, they're still going to make the playoff.
Yep.
That I saw, it was on Reddit. I think it might have come from Josh Pate's show. I'm not sure. But if the 24-team model was in place for the past dozen years, Oklahoma State would have made the playoffs 7 out of 12 times. Oklahoma State, that's a decent program, right? They had good years, they had down years, a decent program under Mike Gundy. And they would have made the field and been considered a playoff team more than half the time. I think that is a damning indictment of what it would mean to increase the playoff field by that much. And as a result, shrink the importance of being a really good team in the regular season.
Yeah, which is why I like
if you lose the urgency of the regular season and you strip the importance away from those games, I think you are drastically altering the fabric of the sport.
Yep.
And that, I think, needs to be a complete non-starter. I understand that they view this as a money-making machine. That, hey, people like the playoff, let's have more of it. I understand that simplistic view of things. It doesn't mean that you can just continue to increase the field and not have negative repercussions for the rest of the season.
And people are already complaining that there are too many teams. Tulane played Ole Miss. And that's another thing that I actually like about the Big Ten seeding wise is that they avoid the first round rematches. So we saw a couple of them. This year. But, you had people who are not interested in watching JMU, Oregon.
And I understand that, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
We can't debate, but an 18 model will be better. Okay, fine, but it's not going to happen. It's pie in the sky, irrelevant to discuss. So we can't say, well, we'd rather have this if it's not a legitimate option. There is no going backwards. They will not be taking inventory for the TV networks off the table. They will not do that. We know this. You're right that debate, occasionally you do hear that, hey, we don't want to see, Oregon beat up on a group of 5 team. And I understand that. I get it. There's the discussion of, okay, do you open a group of 5 playoff exclusively for them and separate it completely? That doesn't appear to be at the point where that's going to happen yet either. They still want that seat at the table for the actual national title. Do they think they can win a title? No, I highly doubt that, unless Mr. Beast follows through and gives $100 million to East Carolina to push for something, barring something like that, no, it's not about winning the title. It's about getting into the playoff and getting a piece of that revenue. That's
which is
what
why
it's about.
Sacramento State is paying out the wazoo
Yeah.
to get into the MAC.
Right. It's not about winning the national title. That's not the goal there. The goal is to make the playoff and get the revenue.
Yeah. So, going back to my notes on it, here are the biggest questions moving forward. This coming up year, the college football playoff will end on January 25th.
Yeah.
That is way too late.
Yeah.
So do you move the start of the season up and make week 0 week 1?
Eliminating week 0.
Really. Yeah, you just move everything up a week.
Yeah.
Eliminating week 0, which is fine. Yeah. What do you do with Army Navy? Bowl season is going to play a factor here. G5 bids, conference title games, I think are going to be a thing of the past. And here's the holdup on them. They generate like $200 million. And you're going to have to figure out a way to make that up. And it doesn't, at least from the ESPN article, does not seem like there's a way to make that all the way up. And then what do you do at rivalry week? And then I think the team that screws up the math the most is Notre Dame. And all due respect to Notre Dame, I get their need and want to stay independent and latch on to that era of college football. But if you wanted an AQ model where, let's say, the top 3 teams from the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and SEC, it won't be that. It'll be more unevenly distributed. It's easier to do with an even amount of teams without having to save a spot for Notre Dame than it is to go, hey, we have to throw Notre Dame in there. Because what I would want is it's not the G5 anymore, it's the G6. G6 champions should have a spot. If we're going to do a playoff, let's do a playoff and make it like the FCS. All conference champions get in there. I would move it to 10 conference games for the Power 4 conferences. What is it? Is it the Pac-12 still, or did they move to the Pac-8? Or there are 8 teams in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 came out with their schedule where they're playing 7 conference games plus a flex game at the end against a conference foe, which I think could be a map to where some of this ends up. But you get your 6 group of 6 champions in, and that leaves you 18 spots for the rest of the conference.
A question on the automatic qualifier model. How would you like to see the conferences select those teams? Let's say that the Big Ten gets 3. So in this hypothetical scenario, if the Big Ten is getting 3 teams, how are you selecting those 3 teams? Is it strictly based on standings, or is there some sort of, and I don't want to call it a committee, is there a model that could be utilized that would take out the benefit that could come in with an unbalanced schedule where a team could
but people are not gonna do it. I mean, the easiest solution here is to contract conferences to 10 or 11 teams each,
and it's a round robin,
a round robin, and that's that. That's not going to happen. It doesn't seem like it'd be too easy to happen. Anyway, so
the easiest solution, right, is
you have to. I think you have to move to 10 conference games if you're the Big Ten, because you're going to have those years where you're playing 5 on the road, 4 at home, and that's not fair. That's not fair to a team. You're playing a toss-up game. You're playing one more toss-up game, and it ends up being on the road and you lose, and you're that whatever third or fourth team in the Big Ten who, all right, well, you lost the head-to-head, so they're going to jump you. Well, why do they get that head-to-head at home? Or why don't we get to play UCLA at home and, they have to go to Northwestern or something? Just throwing random teams out. Like, you got to go to an even amount of games, and they're not going to contract it to 8. They're going to expand it to 10.
Yeah. I do wonder, I kind of got a chuckle at it. I saw a model that had the Big Ten playing 8 conference games. Since there's 18 teams, there were 2 pods, is what they called it, and pods of 9 teams each. So you were playing each of the other teams in your pod, and you scratch your head and say, and you scratch your heads and say, wait a minute, haven't we done this before? And people hated it, so we moved away because one of the pods or divisions was the Big Ten West, and it was hot garbage for a vast majority of the time. Didn't we already do this? And I understand things could be divided up differently, but still, it was kind of funny to see it mapped out that way as a solution. And it was like, it
would work if you clear the deck.
But then why have a conference?
Exactly.
That's not 2 separate divisions. It's 2 separate conferences, right?
No, I meant like clear the deck of the entire landscape of college football, and just start, doing, would you say 9-team pods? 9-team pods. Well, there's the NFL.
Yes.
You have the NFC West and the AFC West, and maybe instead of having 4 teams, you have 9 teams, and you combine them and you call them whatever you want. The Starbucks division and the
Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper, or the Wawa and Sheets, and all that stuff. It's
just not leaders and legends, please. Just not that.
How about not leaders and not legends?
Followers.
But
followers and ordinaries. Yeah.
I think everything should be on the table, but it's not. That would work. That would probably solve a lot of your issues. But again, it comes down to money, and you're going to have to break up the power 2 of the Big Ten and the SEC. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a Pacific Coast Conference, or a West Coast Conference out there with teams that go, okay, we're going to play a 9-game schedule. The winner of that is going to gets a spot. And you break it up into regions. One, it brings back kind of those regional rivalries and creates new ones. You're going to tell me that, and I know it's recent, but you're going to tell me that NIU and Sacramento State are pumped to play each other?
Yeah.
No, NIU wants to play teams that they've been playing forever. Or go to Kent State. Was it Kent State and Bowling Green? Or no, Toledo and Kent State, right? Whoever has the rocket pointed at each other's field.
And I think a big reason why this gets to be to the point of impossibility to do anything like that is
to trying to make everybody happy.
Well, the they have existing TV contracts that are in place for a certain period of time. And while they're attempting to adjust and tweak and switch the college football playoff format and the general structure of it, they can't really make any wholesale changes because those existing TV network or TV deals with the networks are still in place. Those have a lot of things that prevent massive change in that conference structure because those deals aren't going away. So if those deals are still in place, you're kind of locked in to what you can and cannot do with the conferences. Now, we know that, okay, those are in place, they're not going away. So you have to work within the existing conference structure to make these tweaks. Now, a field of 24, as we discussed there briefly, I think kind of bastardizes the regular season and limits the urgency of every Saturday. A field of 16, I think that there are things that a field of 16 could do that would keep the regular season urgency, keep the importance intact.
Right, but I don't want a 5+11, especially since it's not set up. All this was thinking that there would be 5 Power 5 conferences.
Right.
And then the Pac-12 dissolved. And then the ACC and the Big 12 kind of fell behind the SEC and Big 10. And so, if you had 16 teams and whatever, and you want to do the 5+11, okay, your Power 5 conference gets automatic bids. That's been the plan since this thing started, or expanded past 4. And then your next 11 best teams, and we'll see what the group of 5 does. But now that if it's your 5 top conference finisher, like conference champions,
right,
that's how you get into trouble. Now the ACC fixed their nonsensical tiebreaker rule, where Miami would have played Virginia instead of Duke.
It would be the same. It'd be the same format you currently have, but with more at-large teams. Is what it would do. It would expand out. So teams like in this past year's case,
Texas,
Notre Dame gets in, Texas gets in, and was Vanderbilt going to be the next one, I think. So
Vanderbilt was 10.
All right.
Like they
so
could be
they
in
get
there
it.
too.
That would be the basically, okay, the format is exactly as it is, but the bubble expands further. If you want to compare it to the NCAA tournament, the bubble expands further down, and a few more of those at-large teams get included at the bottom of the field.
Yep.
Okay, fine. That's not the worst thing in the world. But again, it further strips the importance of the regular season games, because a team like Texas, that would have made the third loss for them, whichever loss you want to say, Florida, or say it was the Ohio State game, whatever, it would have made their third loss irrelevant because they still would have made the field. This past year, the fact that they lost a third game meant that they missed out. So there was a consequence for losing those games.
Yep.
And the further you drop that bubble down and expand it out, I think the less meaning you assign to those. So how could you get to a 16-team model and still keep that urgency? And I think that's the automatic qualifiers extending beyond just conference champions.
Yep.
I think that's how you could, if you threaded the needle correctly, that's how you could keep those conference races feeling important and still expand the field to 16 to satisfy the money hungriness of the
and
people.
You gave me an idea for the group 5 there, or group of 6. Have a mini playoff. Take your group of 6 champions, have them play like regular season champions, like
Sure.
Redo your schedule or however you want, and have them play. Have them play.
Playing rounds, basically.
Yeah, you're playing rounds, and then whoever won that playing round gets the bid. If they're only doing one bid, that could also solve some of bowl season with some of these smaller bowls.
Yeah.
Now it probably screws up the calendar in terms of getting the season done quicker. but and Army Navy's is a wrench in plans too.
How
but I
do you feel?
I like Josh Pate's idea of Army Navy being played on Thanksgiving.
I
as a
was going to
standalone
say
game.
the same thing. How do you feel about the two options that have been kicked around for that? You move it to week 0, which I don't
No.
like at all.
It needs to be played in cold weather. It's a cold weather game. It's
and it needs to be standalone. So if you move it to week 0, in our what we would like to see happen is that the season moves forward, so there is no week 0. It's just week 1. So you move it to the start of the season. We don't like that. So yeah, that Thanksgiving model where it's played on its own. The only gripe that you have with that is, but the NFL. Well, I don't care. I don't care. Yes, the NFL is a beast. I understand that. Oh well, so is college football. There's plenty of time, plenty of eyeballs, and people that care about college football.
Play it on the Wednesday of Thanksgiving.
Are going to watch. They're going to watch. So
play it on the Wednesday of Thanksgiving. If the NFL, if we're scared of the NFL.
Yeah, I think moving it to rivalry week and giving it a standalone slot, whether that's Wednesday, whether that's Thursday at 1:00 or Thursday at noon, whatever standalone slot you wanted to give it, I think that's as good a solution as any. And then you could keep the kind of accelerated schedule to get things done by early to mid-January.
Yeah, because then you can get
place.
if you get rid of conference title games, that frees up. What is it? This December 5th week this year, and so you know if you're shooting to start the playoff, there's no reason there should be 2 weeks between playoff. Like.
Right.
If you're starting to start the playoff Friday, December 11th and Saturday, December 12th, that gives you 1, 2, 3. And the fourth weekend would be January 1st, January 2nd. I could live with the January 9th end. So you have 5 weekends to get that in. And that includes Christmas Day and all that stuff. People smarter than us could probably figure out, and who have better tools than a yellow pad, can probably figure out a group of 6 play-in bracket. Group of 6 tournament to do that, to where it's, hey, we could kick it off. Because there are MAC team, I think there are a group of, especially with them playing midweek games, they end their season fairly early. Where you could start the postseason a little bit earlier, and if they're looking to make up money, maybe you take one of those non-conference games. I don't know the balance sheets all that well, but maybe you take out, one of those games. The MAC schedule this year ends. And there's not even that many MAC games. So, MAC hasn't even scheduled their teams out because Sacramento State or whatever. But they're usually done before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So maybe Thanksgiving and rivalry week could be the first of those. You play those 2 games. The top 2, you could do the top 2 G6 teams get buys. You could play 2 games Thanksgiving. Conference championship week, you play 2 more games, and then the following week, you could play the playing game or whatever. Or you can move everything up a week. If you move everything up a week, it's doable, and then you could have your G6 team in there. Time off and buys is also an issue, but we're throwing ideas out there when other people aren't doing anything.
I think that what is probably going to become a little bit inevitable as the number of playoff games increases, so it's an increase in inventory. I do think you are going to see a significant number of the lower tier to medium tier bowl games disappear.
You've already seen 3. We've seen the
Yeah.
Bahamas Bowl,
Yeah.
the Bahamas Bowl, they officially died this year, but it's been a couple years. The LA Bowl, which was a bowl game that always had trouble
Finding a sponsor of any sort. Yep.
finding a sponsor. It was also the week after the regular season or week after the championship weekend, to where it's tough to make travel plans. It's right before the holidays. It's on Heisman Day, which is usually Army Navy Day, and nobody's traveling to LA at that time for those two teams who on a week's notice. That bowl was destined to die. And then you had the Detroit Bowl, whatever you want to call it, Motor City Bowl. That one's gone away.
Yeah,
you're right. I think there are a lot of G6 bowls that, like the New Mexico Bowl. I think the Sun Bowl stays because that's a big deal to them down there, and it's one of the more historic bowls.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to not have some of these G6 teams playing bowl games that they do numbers on TV. That's the thing. You're going to have, they need inventory.
Well,
so that's why I don't think everything goes.
No,
like people are going to say all these irrelevant bowls are, well, they're not all irrelevant. They might be irrelevant to who wins the national title.
Yeah.
But that's not what the sport is about. That's not what having that game is about. It's having something to watch at noon on a Tuesday afternoon when school's out and you're at home.
Yep. And I think that if you are increasing the playoff inventory into some of those windows, you will see the TV networks say, okay, well, we've got our inventory. That's what this mid-tier bowl game was really the only benefit to us, was inventory. If we have a replacement for that we can call a playoff game, well, we'll take that instead.
Which is why I think they would lean towards 24. It gives you a few more items in the pantry to pull out.
Right, and the question becomes, where do they compromise between the power brokers of the SEC and the Big Ten? Where do they end up compromising?
Don't forget, the bowl commission still has some power.
It does, but I think that the bowl commission,
I don't think they have a say in it.
No,
they'll do whatever, but they're going to try and throw their weight around.
They want to be a part.
We talked to the CEO of the Peach Bowl earlier, and he was throwing around, well, just play bowl season at the beginning of the year, which I don't think is a good solution. You want to get people on campus and start those games there. I get it, especially if you're playing week 0 in August and not Labor Day weekend. Nobody wants to go to Florida in August. Nobody. I mean, it is gross. It is gross. It's not like warm. You lose that. You lose the excitement of a home opener. You lose some of these big matchups, and they kind of tried this, right, with these kickoff classics.
Yeah,
like Michigan, Alabama got played in Dallas, and it's like, okay, you're taking the soul out of the sport. So the bowl season will have to figure it out, and whether or not, I mean, look, the Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, Sugar Bowl, the New Year's Six bowls are going to stay.
Right. As quarterfinals,
I do think
the
Rose Bowl should be the national championship game every single year, and it should end on January 1st. However, this is the real world, and I don't think the season is going to end January 1st.
Right.
I don't think it's possible. So maybe you have it as a semifinal game, but there's no reason why, like the Reliquis Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, like all those Florida bowls and warm weather bowls can't be integrated somewhere and somehow.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned biggest questions, and I really think the biggest question, singular, is will the decision makers that currently have the power, will they come together to make a decision or a series of decisions that are good for the sport of college football, or will they continue, and I think we know the answer to this, or will they continue to strictly focus on what is best for my bottom line? What is best for my conference's bottom line? What is best for my institution's bottom line? And whatever that is, that's what I want to do. It doesn't matter what the best thing is for the sport of college football, for the players, for the fans, for the coaches, any of that. It ultimately has so far been what is best for my money as a decision maker. And unfortunately, until that line of thinking changes, I think we will continue to see decisions made that ultimately end up damaging the overall health of the sport in the long term. And that's the biggest question for me is, will that change or will that slide continue?
Well, the current CFP contract with ESPN's up 2031.
Yep.
And I think why the Big Ten is pushing 24 teams is because Fox wants to get in on it.
Yeah, you break up the playoff into multiple TV networks, which it should be. The NFL playoffs, every league partner has a stake in the playoffs. All of them.
Yep. And so you don't get the bias from well, as much bias, but like the preseason polls, FPI, all that stuff
talk
that
during
go
the
into
season.
Yeah. I mean, it took until Indiana won a national title for them to go, yeah, Indiana's pretty good at football.
Right.
But yeah, look, I'll believe it when I see it, when they put the fans' best interest in front of their own, because it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But there's a way to do it. And there is, and hopefully they listen to ideas outside of their think tank and their think box or echo chamber, whatever you want to call it. But so to recap real quickly, TJ, regular season needs to stay relevant.
Yep.
Because that's what makes college football great is the regular season.
That's the biggest one. Absolutely.
Ones that I am or if I was in the room, willing to negotiate about when the season ends, when the season starts. I'd like the more on-campus postseason games. I do think that rewards fans. We both know how expensive it is to travel to these games. People went to the 3 for IU. Now, look, if IU goes on another run, I am interested to see if the enthusiasm is still there since they just did it last year. And if you're good, can be like, man, I can't go to the Rose Bowl or whatever, the national title game every year. It's just not in the budget. The biggest question for me is just the format of it. Are you going to have the AQs, or are you going to go top 23 teams plus a G6 and plus Notre Dame? And Notre Dame's guaranteed a spot if they finish in the top 12 now. And that was baked in before they threw their hissy fit. And all that stuff. I would like to take things out of the hands of the committee as much as possible and go more on independent metrics and regular season results, right? Why if the top 4 Big Ten teams go in and they finished, Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, and USC and they all finished let's say IU goes 9-0, Ohio State goes 8-1, Michigan goes 8-2 or 7-2, and Oregon goes 7-2. And why shouldn't those teams get in? As opposed to, wow, they didn't look so good against Tumbleweed Tech in week 2, and we dropped them 5 spots, and somebody didn't watch Oregon this year because they were on too late and stuff like that. And then what the G6 does, because a lot of people don't realize that creating a G6 playoff is basically creating another division of college football.
Yes.
You would have to create another division of college football, and I don't think that'll go. And there's a whole bunch of antitrust stuff. There'll be lawsuits, all the stuff we don't like about the college football offseason.
Right.
Do it. So, final thoughts from you, TJ, before we get out of here.
I think it's expansion. I think we can both agree is inevitable. It's a matter of
it's when, not if.
A matter of when that's going to occur and what it's going to look like. And once those changes take effect, is it going to, as I said earlier, I think it fits, is it going to fundamentally alter one of the things that we love about college football, which is the importance of every game during the regular season? I sincerely hope that is not the case. And I hope that there's a model in place that will keep that urgency on the table every regular season. So I'm, I guess, naively hopeful that something good is going to come out of that. I don't blame anyone for being fatalistic about what decision the power brokers are going to make and how ugly it is going to look in 3 to 4 years time. I can understand that. Until that time, I'll choose to be optimistic that it'll work out with an acceptable outcome. But it's not something that I expect, even in the best case scenario, not a format that I'm expecting to love.
No, look, it's fun talking about this stuff, I think. Maybe fun is the wrong word. Because there's one path you don't really love and it's not fun. But you're talking about people who they're playing Virginia, Virginia and North Carolina State are playing in Brazil to start the season. Like, what are we doing? Those are the people you're trusting to fix the sport, or they're sending 2 middle of the pack ACC teams to South America to sell the sport because, this is what the NFL does. I'll believe that they have the best interest of the fans at heart when I see it. I don't think they do. You're right. Expansion's inevitable. It's coming. I don't know when will it be, because there was something in that article that said, by 24 teams by 2029. All we know is that the contract's up 2031. There's a deadline at some point this year, probably December 1st again.
Yep.
On what 2027 will look like. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's going to be more moving pieces. This was just getting our thoughts out in the open. If you have your own thoughts, feel free to comment on them on YouTube. Come to the forums and comment on them. We love the discussion. I got into a big Twitter discussion with I think Hoosier and Pitt, or Pitt Hoosier, today about it, and those are the discussions that need to happen. What will work? What might work? What won't work? What we like? What we don't like? So, TJ, thanks for joining us today. As always, come back to HoosierHuddle.com, subscribe, like, rate us on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, and then come back to the site. We have some great discussions going on in the forums. You have basketball making a push to the NCAA tournament, baseball's starting up, softball starting up as well, and you have plenty of other IU sports to wrap your head around. And then spring football will be here in about 5 weeks.
Yeah. Yep. It has been, I don't know, something like 420 something days since IU lost a football game. That's pretty cool.
That is.
That's
and the Notre Dame fans will not let us forget about it.
Fun thing to keep you warm during the colder months.
Hey, it's going to be 70 degrees here on tomorrow, TJ. I think we're full spring is here, and I'm not taking these snow sticks out of the driveway just yet.
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the forums.